morning and welcome to BATV News. I'm Andrew Laidley. President of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, Tashura Gibbs, says the U.S. travel advisory against Jamaica had to happen for the government to take the issue of crime more seriously. She says local stakeholders have labored on the issue for far too long without any solid fix forthcoming. Now the tourism industry is in jeopardy. More in this report. The travel advisory issued by the United States Embassy urged U.S. nationals to be cautious when traveling to Jamaica. The advisory indicated that the security forces in Jamaica does not have enough resources to adequately fulfill their duties in the face of an increasing crime rate. The advisory isn't the first, but something was different. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, the U.S. Embassy has confirmed that the format of worldwide travel advisories issued by the U.S. State Department, along with the use of a tiered level of advice, is new. The new tiered system ranges from 1 to 4, with 4 being the worst. Jamaica has been classified at level 2 in the updated travel advisory. But President of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, Tashura Gibbs, argues that the government should have never allowed things to get this bad.
It's quite unfortunate that it had to get to this. We all saw the writing on the wall, and we all knew that if we didn't take some intentional actions to cauterize the situation, it would have gotten to this place, and it will get worse if we don't act immediately. And so I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call for the powers that be, including the Prime Minister.
She says the government must now act quickly to fix Jamaica's crime problem before things get worse.
But the big, great United States of America had said to their residents and their nationals, be careful when traveling to Jamaica. So we need to act immediately. Are we going to wait until, it gets worse? I think our Prime Minister, Minister, Commissioner must act immediately, provide the resources to the police force. We find the resources to do other things, and we need to find it to give to the police force to make sure that we're fighting crime in our country. We must send a strong message.
In the meantime, President of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, Omar Robinson, says although crime against visitors isn't exponentially high, an advisory like this is likely to affect tourism negatively.
But it's good to note that crime against visitors, crime against tourists is relatively low. There have only been a few incidents happening, and they're far and few apart. But even so, one is too many. Having an advisory can affect the image of the destination. It can affect future bookings. It can affect how people perceive the island, the general perception. So it would be interesting. We're actually checking with our members to see if there is any fallout from this recent advisory.
He says the members of his association are even more concerned for their staff who have to bear the brunt of the crime wave in their communities.
Where we have a serious concern, though, is really for our employees but they're living it, they feel it, they're in those communities, those troubled communities where they hear gunshots every night, those volatile communities, and they're worried for their general safety and security, and as such, they're going to be concerned about their times when they exit and enter their communities. This has also affected us in terms of our scheduling, and we have had to rearrange our schedules so that they can get home.
For BATV News, I'm Andrew Laidley. And the United States has issued a travel advisory against the Bahamas as well. That advisory warns Americans against going to some well-known tourist hotspots. But this has left Bahamians who depend on tourism upset. More from ZNS Network's Cleopatra Murphy.
I feel that's very biased and also hypocritical of them.
The latest travel advisory by the U.S. State Department urging Americans to exercise extreme caution when visiting the Bahamas due to crime is not sitting well with Bahamians, particularly after a tourist hub Arawak Key was highlighted. The U.S. Embassy issued a Level 2 advisory Wednesday, urging visitors to avoid the area known as Over the Hill and the fish fry at Arawak Key in Nassau at night. Chef at Frankie Gone Bananas, Anton Johnson, says tourists make up 45 to 50% of the restaurant's business, and what he described as an exaggerated advisory can hurt the area's businesses.
First of all, we have the police station was right across the road from our restaurant, and they do a very good job of patrolling the area. Mind you, there are some things that slip through the crack, which you cannot really control. but it's nothing out of the ordinary and nothing that is so severe that they cannot control it.
He says the advisory is ridiculous coming from the U.S. when its own cities have much worse crime. The advisory warns that violent crimes such as burglaries, armed robberies, and sexual assault is common even during daylight hours and in tourist areas. Zanser says he has been a runner at the fish fry for 15 years, and he is concerned that tourists will second-guess visiting the locale.
Out here, everybody depends on the tourists, especially me. I'm the guy that catch the tourists on the beach and bring them to each one of these restaurants. I get $2 a head. So if they don't come down here, right now my little girl needs a pair of shoes. So what am I going to do? You understand what I'm saying? So that's ridiculous.
Owner of Big Yard, Jontatis Joseph, insists that Arawak Key is not a crime hub and tourists can feel secure patronizing the area. In 15 years, he says he has never had a problem.
Yeah, the safe area. They're very, very safe area for the tourists. Well, I want all present coming Arawak Key and coming to support the business and coming to chill in Arawak Key. Now is a very, very good area for the tourists, that tourist spot.
In the meantime, that advisory once again warned U.S. citizens against patronizing jet ski operators, as it has in recent advisories, noting that jet ski operators are known to commit sexual assaults against tourists, including minors. Those who make their livelihood on Arawak Key say they are concerned about the impact such advisories can have on the country as a whole, but insist the area is safe. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
Back home, the Urban Development Corporation UDC has issued invitations for pre-qualification building contractors who wish to be a part of the construction of the state-of-the-art beach park at the Dump Bay Beach in Montego Bay, St. James. Here's more.
The scope of the work includes widening of the sidewalk and new perimeter fencing along Gloucester Avenue and Howard Cook Boulevard, while the interior of the park will feature a network of hardscape and landscape, public restrooms, changing rooms, beach showers, jogging trail, site filling and grading and support services, including electrical, sewerage, stormwater drainage and telecommunication. UDC is advising that interested parties have until Monday, January 29 at 4 p.m. to collect the requisite documents. These cost 3,000 Jamaican dollars. The UDC says submissions must be in sealed envelopes and deposited in the tender box at its head office at or before 3 p.m. on Tuesday, February 6, 2018. The corporation is also advising that bids will be opened on the same day at 3:15 p.m. Dump Up Beach forms part of the UDC's Montego Bay redevelopment program in downtown Montego Bay, St. James, and has been identified as one of the sites with high potential to spur further development of the city. The UDC says its intention is to convert the 16-acre property into a world-class recreational space with amenities that will allow for it to operate as a free-access licensed public beach and multi-purpose park. The beach will be the starting point of a public coastal park system to include the Old Hospital Park and Gunpoint Beach. The construction will be carried out in tandem with the Montego Bay Waterfront Rehabilitation Project, which is a separate undertaking aimed at repairing the groins protecting the closed harbour, Walter Fletcher and Gunpoint beaches. For BATV News, I'm Nordia Francis Williams.
Lower the sugar content in products or face government action. That's the threat to manufacturers from Finance Minister Audley Shaw. The minister was speaking yesterday at a scientific symposium on fiscal measures to prevent obesity and other non-communicable diseases yesterday, organized by the University of Technology. Minister Shaw said beverage manufacturers should lower the sugar content in their products, or they will force the government to take action through appropriate policy measures. He noted that the government is concerned about the sugar content of products being marketed to children. He pointed out that the World Health Organization has recommended that countries implement guidelines for the production of food and beverages in order to reduce the amount of sugar and impose taxes to encourage manufacturers to take the appropriate actions. The minister added that although several programs have been started to reduce non-communicable diseases, a more aggressive stance must be taken to get others to join the fight. Some $170 million is spent annually to treat chronic diseases. This money, Minister Shaw argued, could be spent on infrastructural improvement to health facilities and the upgrading of healthcare services. Now, still to come, unions say the government's wage increase offer is incompatible with the current economic climate. The details after the break. Welcome back. President of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, JCTU, Helene Davis-White, says public sector unions are in favor of productivity and performance-based pay. But she points out that the offer the government has placed on the table isn't compatible with the current economic climate. She was a guest on BATV's business discussion show On Point last evening. Anthony Morgan reports.
JCTU President Helene Davis-White says public sector unions are rejecting the government's offer of a 6% increase over 2 years because the situation is a little worse this time around.
Even with the last administration, if you recall, they offered 3 and 3 and it was not accepted either. But the situation is a little worse this time because whereas inflation was trending much lower at that time, inflation is trending at closer to 5% now. Per year.
She argues that public sector workers did not benefit hugely from the government's 1.5 tax break.
Some persons get, but again, I keep making the point that the public sector is a low-wage destination. Close to half of the public sector did not benefit at all from that tax break, and then the others would have benefited to varying degrees, but many of them were in the region up to $1 million, and not many that are actually over that $1 million. So when we look at that, and the fact that as a result of that tax break, we have had increased prices through taxation, and inflation has trended upwards as a result. Workers are basically saying that 3% in the context of all of that would be unacceptable.
Meanwhile, she points out that the unions are in favor of a structure where workers are paid based on performance. However, the government needs to relook at its 9% wage to GDP target.
Even paying based on productivity, that would not negate the collective bargaining process, because there still has to be a means by which you can come to some agreements.
But we don't negotiate. We don't negotiate the agreements in that way.
What we are saying is that in our current heads of agreement, the unions, actually the one that is expiring now, we do have a point because we recognize the importance of productivity. The unions were behind the push to establish the National Productivity Center.
For BATV News, I'm Anthony Morgan.
Cultural analyst and senior lecturer at the Institute of Caribbean Studies, Professor Donna Hope, says the Palisados should not be banned from being an entertainment zone. This despite the debacle on New Year's Day, which saw scores of passengers stranded in traffic and missing flights at the Norman Manley International Airport. Siobhan Keys reports.
Professor Donna Hope says improper management of the daylight party sands led to the traffic pileup on the Palisados on New Year's Day, and there's enough blame to go around. She says it's also a reminder that there's a lack of adequate management of events in the corporate area.
Managing an event is not about people meeting and writing nice letters and leaving it at that and hoping that the patrons will hear somewhere in the ether that they should park somewhere, but putting in place, let me say again, the various structures to ensure that this is actually what happens.
Who fell down here?
It seems that various parties fell down. The promoters fell down. The promoters fell down quite badly. The KCMC, I think, also fell down quite badly because we have been putting on too many events that get approval from the JCF, you know, the Noise Abatement Act, and Town and Country Planning approvals and the various approvals, that the locations are not adequately structured.
She says the lack of parking space in Kingston is also a huge problem. That, she says, also contributed to the chaos on New Year's Day. She points out that other cities across the world are faced with similar issues, but have found ways to control indiscipline when it comes to events.
high levels costs of tickets that are rigidly enforced.
Hard to find parking in Kingston, much less for a big event.
No, and let me get back. And here we are, you're agreeing with me. We need to get to the point where we understand that regardless of the type of event, regardless of the profile of the event, all events must now come to the place where if we are operating entertainment events in any kind of entertainment zone, we have to begin to put in place the different kind of structures to manage the event, because it is a good entertainment product. We are not throwing babies out with bath waters. We want to ensure that the product is maintained, the integrity of the product is maintained, people make money.
But despite the incident, Professor Hope says she's against taking the Palisadoes area off the list of entertainment zones in Kingston.
That I am not in the group of individuals who apparently wish to ban what seems to be, and what seems to me to be, a valuable event. Jamaica and Kingston are big tourist centers. We have people who fly in for these events.
We can't jeopardize an international airport for a party.
Yes, we can jeopardize many things for a party once there. And again, we come back to the issue of management. I believe that the knee-jerk response to banning things that many people enjoy, because some of us are unwilling to put in place adequate management structures, is an incorrect response. And we should look at how we can manage these various activities.
For BATV News, I'm Javon Keys.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, is getting a new system to aid in the recovery of stolen cellular phones. The equipment is valued at approximately $46,000 and should arrive within the next 6 to 8 weeks. While making the announcement, National Security Minister Robert Montague said the system will be deployed on a phased basis and initially will be limited to a specific geographic area. The National Security Minister also noted that the ministry will launch a website to support the system. On this website, persons will be able to register their cell phones, even those outside of the geographic zone in the initial phase. It's estimated that some 2,400 cell phones are stolen each year. The minister argued that if each cell phone roughly costs 10,000 Jamaican dollars, that adds up to about $24 million in theft. The Housing Agency of Jamaica, HAJ, is looking forward to a positive end for the 2017-18 fiscal year. The agency says over the past year, it's been working hard to increase collection of funds owed on existing housing developments. The Housing Agency says it's already seen a turnaround with profits of $183 million at the end of the 2016-17 financial year, after suffering a loss of $886 million in the 2015-16 financial year. Public Relations and Marketing Manager Richard Jones says much of the outstanding sums are for properties in St. James, St. Anne, St. Mary, Westmoreland, Hanover, and St. Catherine. Mr. Jones says the agency is expected to make in excess of $700 million in profit this year. He adds that persons who've settled with the HAJ said and collected their titles have been able to use these to access loans for further education or to start a business or to travel overseas. The core mandate of the HAJ is to bring lower to middle income housing solutions to the public, as well as to regularize informal settlements across the country. Now stay with us. Regional and international stories are next. Welcome back. It's time now for regional and international news. On Monday, ground will be broken on the largest project in the history of Antigua and Barbuda. The project will see the transformation of the port at Deepwater Harbor into a major transshipment port. Here's more.
By any stretch of the imagination, the port development project stands to bring incredible benefits to the economy of Antigua and Barbuda. It will transform the current Deepwater Harbor into an ultra-modern facility able to accommodate heavier loads at significantly increased efficiency. Port manager Darwin Telemak says one of the distinguishing features that is expected to propel the Antiguan port well beyond the standards of any other in the region is the addition of not one, but 2 cranes.
That's exciting news for us because as a port right now, our single crane places us in the top tier of port operations in the regions. So our crane operators are extremely efficient, and adding a second crane will make us even more efficient, and I believe that could propel us to become the leading port in terms of discharging and backloading of ships in the region. I think that would speak well for Antigua.
The presence of the Antigua and Barbuda Customs Division will be prominent. It has a crucial role to play in the operations of the new facility. Comptroller Raju Badu says training is a key component of their preparation for the development and expansion of the facility.
So that our custom officers are trained in the best practices all over the world in managing the secure trade, following the safe network of the World Customs Organization. So on both sides, and in a physical increase of numbers, and also in terms of equipping our officers with necessary knowledge and skill sets that warrant the modern customs operations at the modernized and expanded port, we are really planning well ahead, even before the groundbreaking ceremony.
The Communications Workers Union in Trinidad and Tobago is calling for the immediate re-employment of 4 workers who were dismissed by the Telecommunications Services of Trinidad and Tobago yesterday. CNews' Ian Wason tells us more.
And if it's what you want, we got gear war. We know the telecommunications provider TSTT has been redeploying employees to other departments and positions since closing several of its retail outlets across the country. However, the workers say some of the positions they are being redeployed to currently do not exist or they are not trained for them. In anticipation of the position not being favorable, the workers signed their redeployment letters from TSTT stating, under duress or without prejudice. Those employees were issued another letter stating they currently hold no substantive position within the company.
What TSTT is saying to you is signed unconditionally. We want no condition to your signature. And if you have a condition, then we fire you. And that's what has happened today.
Mr. Elder stated TSTT promised the workers job security once they signed.
And even though they accepted the offer, because they have reserved their right to take action if this offer is not suitable and comparable, they're saying to you, don't reserve such right. You have no rights. You're now fired.
Mr. Elder wants the workers to be reinstated immediately. In fact, he is calling on them to report to work on Friday. Ian Wason, CNews.
Officials in France say there has been a major dysfunction in a recall of baby milk after stores sold potentially contaminated products despite having been ordered to take them off their shelves. More in this report.
Summoned by the French government, representatives from France's leading retailers gathered to explain how potentially contaminated baby milk ended up on supermarket shelves. They were met with stern words.
This cannot and must not ever happen again. The strongest measure, and the one we think is most effective, is an electronic and systematic control at the checkout of all main distribution points in France.
The French president even took time out of his trip to Italy to weigh in on the matter, promising punishments for those responsible.
There will be no tolerance on the matter. Those that need to be sanctioned will be, and inspections will be reinforced.
5 of France's leading supermarket chains have admitted to selling baby food from the dairy group Lactalis after they were supposed to have been recalled. The lapse came to light when 35 infants fell ill after being fed Lactalis baby milk. Food safety inspectors had failed to pick up on salmonella bacteria at the dairy giant's factory in September last year, and a recall of its products was only issued 3 months later. One of the world's largest producers of dairy products, Lactalis representatives were keen to defend their reputation.
We worked in perfect collaboration with the government, and we will continue to do so. If the investigation that's been open ends up showing that we were responsible, Lactalis will respond. as it has since the beginning, as a group that takes its responsibilities seriously.
As Lactalis faces the scrutiny of the French government, the contamination continues to be investigated, with the ban on its products ongoing.
Talking Stocks is after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Time now for Talking Stocks. 47 stocks traded today, of which 14 advanced, 28 declined, and 5 traded firm. The main JC index declined by over 2,287 points to close at over 282,300 points. The junior index advanced by 40 points to close at over 2,740 points. Over 6,700,000 units traded, valued at more than $67 million on the Jamaican dollar market. And on the US dollar market, over 800 units traded, valued at more than 896 US dollars. Lasco distributors with over 2 million units changing hands accounted for 43% of the market volume. JMMB Group was second with over 1 million units trading. Wisynco Group with over 574,000 units accounted for more than 8% of the market volume, crossing the floor. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances was a top advancer, up 99 cents to close at $11.50, followed by Berger Paints Jamaica up 86 cents to close at $18, and Paramount Trading up 12 cents to close at $3.59. The main decliners were Lasco Distributor losing less than 50 cents to close at $3.16, followed by Main Event Entertainment Group down 59 cents to close at $5.41, and Barita Investments down 65 cents to close at $8.01. In foreign exchange trading, the Jamaican dollar lost ground on the Canadian today, but gained on the US and British pound. The US lost 2 cents to end the day at $124.77. The Canadian gained 50 cents, closing the day at $99.59, and the British pound sold for 56 cents less today, ending the day at $168.58 on average. And that's the news for this evening. But before we go, a recap of our top story. President of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, Trishura Gibbs, says the U.S. travel advisory against Jamaica had to happen for the government to take the issue of crime more seriously. She also argues that the increasing crime rate has now put the tourism industry in jeopardy. Thanks for watching. For more content, please visit our website at batvja.com. I'm Andrew Lately. Pleasant viewing.